My name is Alan Rowland. My presentation today will be with the old cemetery in Jasper, Alabama. It's called the Jasper Memorial Cemetery. I know all of you are familiar with it if you're from the Jasper area anyway. This is a cemetery that's located up by the First Baptist Church, by the Presbyterian Church. It's an old cemetery. It dates back to the time of the founding of Jasper. It honestly does. Now, I have to tell you a little background on this. My family moved to Jasper, Alabama in 1956. I was 7 years old at that time, and I entered into the second grade. This was at Central Elementary. It's located on 3rd Avenue in Jasper, Alabama. And my best friend at that time was John Earl Barton. He was my best friend for several years. We were just young boys, had a good time, and he would spend the night with me. I would spend the night with him. And what was always fun was spending the night with him. Like I said, he lived on 3rd Avenue. And if you went out his back door and went right up the hill, that's where the old cemetery was. And that's where all of us kids would play. And we'd run through the cemetery. We never caused a problem whatsoever. And just, play chase and whatever kids do. And I can remember looking at some of those old graves, and I could read at that time. And I would read the names on the cemetery plots there, and I thought, what was the history on these individuals? And then, unfortunately, a couple of years later, some vandals went into the cemetery, and they damaged many of the headstones, kicked those over, knocked them over, and the city of Jasper restored those. And then a few years after that, some vandals came in and damaged it again, kicked the headstones over, the footstones over, and to this day, there's been very little effort to try to restore that. And so anyway, that is my intention today. And it may take a little bit of time to go through this. And when I started tackling this project about 2 weeks ago, and I've been working on this in my mind, for the past 50 years. But when I started on this project a couple of weeks ago, I didn't realize how lengthy it would be. And I went to the cemetery many, many times in the past several weeks. In fact, those individuals that are buried today, I feel like they're my kin. They're like my family. Now, the sources that I use for this, I'm going to turn to my document canvas, so a lot of this will just be using the documents camera. But once again, this is the Jasper Memorial Cemetery. That is the topic for today. And it's the burial sites that have been identified by the Walker County Genealogical Society. Now, these are the sources that I used for this. This was volume 4, Here They Rest. These are the cemetery records of Walker County, Alabama, compiled by members of the Walker County Geological Society and Jasper, Alabama. And it tells you here that it's walking back in time, and it was done in 1994. And I have a copy of this, and of course I use this as an invaluable tool in this research. Just to give you a sampling of the pages here, this is what it's only like 3.5 pages, not even that much, but this is what it is. And there are a lot of records that are very vague with this. But they did the best that they could, and I certainly appreciate that. The second source that I used was the history of Walker County, and I couldn't get by without this book. And if you're a historian in this area, you've got to get a copy of this. I've read it so many times, and it's all thumbed through and highlighted. But the history of Walker County by John Martin Domhart, and unfortunately, it ended about the Depression era, and it did not go any further than that toward the future. And it's got a lot of good information about the past of Jasper, Alabama. Now, once again, here is a photograph showing you the Jasper Memorial Cemetery sign, and it tells you here in memory of those resting in unmarked graves and also in those in marked graves. Now, when you go into the cemetery, and you've been by it before, and I hope you just park over by the Presbyterian Church and then walk over to the cemetery, and there's so many unmarked graves that are found there. I'll give you some interesting facts on this in just a few minutes, but this is just a typical photograph scene that you'll see. Here's another one here. These are unmarked graves. I have no idea whatsoever who lies and rests in those places, burial places there. Here's another photograph of it here, and we have several more of those shortly. Now, I told you a few seconds ago that there's some interesting facts here about this. This gives you the location, if you're interested in going there, and I hope you will, between 15th and 16th Street West, where 4th Avenue is. And the Genealogical Society has identified, I think, 84, 85 marked graves, and good luck in identifying any further ones, or even identifying these. It's a lot of work involved with this. And it's plus they estimate that there's probably 60 plus unmarked graves there. It's probably way over 60. Some of the interesting facts about this, and I want you to bear in mind that Walker County was founded in 1823 by John W. Walker, and the city of Jasper, and I won't say it was incorporated, but it really came into recognition, as a tiny hamlet about 1816. So if you look at some of these, like the oldest burial here of Thomas Shera, age 79, or Levi Sides, age 79, that dates back, to before the founding of Jasper, actually. The earliest burial here is Griffin Lampkin, and I'm not going to read the dates on it. My eyes can't read those myself anyway. Earliest birth, the same individual, Griffin Lampkin, in 1791. So if you say 1791, and Jasper was roughly founded in 1816, he'd been there 25 years or so. The latest burial that I can find there is J.B. Dobbs, and he died in 1914. You'll find, and I find a grave, it'll tell you that some individuals were buried there around the 1950s, 1960s. I don't know about that. I haven't seen any record of it. Like I said, I've been in Jasper virtually all my life, and I've never heard or seen any activity up at that cemetery as far as burials. All right, now look at this. Out of the 80 identified graves there, or 85 identified graves, 18 of the children there died before the age of 10. And this is just absolutely remarkable. That means like 25% of the deaths took place before individuals reached age 10. And most of them were like just 1, 2, 3, 4 years of age. And you might be wondering, why did this take place? Well, there are many, many reasons for this. We had childhood diseases. You had a lack of antibiotics back in those times, but childhood diseases like measles, you had whooping cough, cholera, tuberculosis, dysentery, we could just go scarlet fever, we could go on and on and on with these childhood diseases. And also would take the lives of many of these older individuals too. It's not uncommon at all for many of these individuals to pass away in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. So anyway, one person we'll talk about in just a few minutes, Franklin Gamble, who was a judge in Jasper, had 7 children, and of his 7 children, 5 of those children died before the age of 10, and most of them died at the age of 1, 2, 3 years of age. So a remarkable number of childhood deaths here. All right, now going through this also, we had 9 of these individuals that served in the American Civil War that I'm aware of. 3 of them served in the War of 1812. We had 2 in the Indian Wars, and one individual, I'll tell you more about him in just a few minutes, real hero, fought in the actual Revolutionary War here. Of the 1700s, we had 5 births. You can read their names here. Griffin Lampkin, once again, John C. Cranford, William Shera, more on him later, Benjamin Butler, William Stovall, all were born in the 1700s anyway. Out of this, and this is just what I can quickly identify, we had 3 doctors, 3 physicians, there were 2 judges. I'll show you photographs of those individuals. All right, now what I want to do here, let's just take a few minutes here, and it's going to take more than a few minutes. And I want to go through and show you some of these burial plots here, and we'll start with this one here, and there's a large monument, and this is recognizes the memory of Richard William Appling. Notice there, I'm not going to mention all this information here. He's one of the early ones, but he passed away at the age of 71 in 1888. Originally from Clark County, Georgia, he'd been a tax assessor in Jasper, and moved on into Jasper. Tax assessor in Tuscaloosa, later moved into Jasper. It's too much information here to go into all the details, but you can see who his wife is. The next individual that we would like to address. Now, these are all individuals that have been identified in the Jasper Memorial Cemetery, been buried there. But this individual, and if you notice here, it is a very modern stone. So what you'll find here is that I don't know if it's Genealogical Society or whoever it was, replaced the old stones, usually the old stones right nearby, and replaced it with a more modern one. These are not stones here that date back 200 years. But this is Benjamin Uriah Butler, another elderly individual, died in 1859. Now, all of this is the founding fathers of Jasper. but he was age 64, originally from Walker County, Maryland. You can see who he was married to, tells you the number of children that he had, and he was a private in the South Carolina militia during the War of 1812. All right, so another remarkable individual. All of these are remarkable, they honestly are. Here's McDonald R. Boatler, died at the age of 1. And a large monument here, just to this little child. He was the son of J.H. and M.J.M.D. Boatler. One other individual here, we got so many here. This was Pally Rice Boatler. She died at age 33 in 1875. Another individual here, and we'll just go on and on with these. Anyway, no first name here, no dates of birth or date of death anyway. It's just Brewer. If you look carefully across the top, you can see these. And I'm telling you, some of these are real challenges to try to identify who these individuals are. All right, here's Lily B. Brown. Died at the age of 13 in 1886 and born in 1873. One more individual here, as we got many, many more here. James G. Birchfield died at the age of 2 in 1881. One more individual here. Martin D. Birchfield, probably the dad, died at the age of 46. He was a part of the American Civil War. He was sergeant in Company G of the 26th Alabama. That is not a unit that was from Walker County, and you can read who he is married to. A very important individual in the history of Jasper was Moses Cammack. A lot of Cammacks here. Some of you may be familiar with Cammack Mill, which was up near where Musgrove Country Club is today, where the old bridge over Blackwater Creek is. That was the Cammack Mill area and Cammack Bridge. But Moses Cammack was a private in the Alabama militia in the Indian Wars. This marker is not his original one, of course. Died in 1873, originally from Fairfield County, South Carolina. Came to Jasper as a physician, and he became a businessman, later a probate judge. I went into the probate judge's office just the other day, snapped a photograph of him. His photograph is up on the wall with all the other probate judges. Married to Elizabeth Wells Cammack. She's buried in this cemetery someplace, but it is in an unmarked grave today. If you'd like to see another likeness here, this is a photograph I took at the probate judge's office showing you Moses Cammack. Here he is. Wealthy businessman, lost his wealth and regained his wealth. Here is a relative of his. This is James Newton Cammack, 1881. And it's his gravesite is not close to Moses Cammack, but very close to where he is. You'll find this individual here, which is Newt Cammack. Newt Cammack died at the age of 35, and right next to him is let me see here. Well, not next to him. Okay, another individual here. This is James Cranford, age 52. You can see he died in 1872. He was from Chester County, South Carolina. A lot of these early Jasper residents were from South Carolina and from Chester County. Here's another Cranford. And this is Willie Ann Pfeiffer Cranford, died at the age of 19. Nice stone there. This is on the west side of the cemetery. One other individual here, J.B. Dobbs. He was the last burial in this cemetery, died at age 60 in 1914. World War I had not quite broke out at that time. A little bit of other history. And one more individual. They called her Maddie. Martha Elizabeth Dobson died at the age of 13. All of these stones, virtually all of them, have been damaged. And vandals and age through the years. Here we go. William T. Files. He was a private Company C, 1st Engineer Troop, And notice here the date here, 9 September 1861 is when he died at the age of 24. Even though he was in the Confederate Army at that time, there were very few battles that had taken place by the time of his death, 1861. Okay, another individual. This is, all right, you won't pronounce your name as Fatima. Fatima. Some people in our country pronounce it as Fatima, but it's Fatima Stanley Freeman. Long history of Freemans here. And she was married to Lucius Gaines Freeman, and it looked like I misspelled it as Freeman. And he was a physician here. And if you trace, and I'm not getting into this, but if you trace the Lucius Gaines Freeman's and Fatima's lineage, you'll find that there are a great number of physicians as their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-great-great-grandchildren. And that's kind of interesting with that. He died at the age, or she died at the age of 25. She is buried next to her husband. These are modern stones. You can see the old stones. If you look at the top here, you can see the old stone right here where my finger is. But this is Lucius Gaines Freeman. And if you go through the Gaines, go through the Freeman lineage here, their ancestry, you'll find that so many of them are named Lucius, or so many of them are named Gaines. But nevertheless, here he died at the age of 30, Fayette County, Alabama. And I thought this was kind of interesting when I was researching this. He graduated from Louisiana Medical College, and Louisiana Medical College. He was a physician in Jasper, and he was associated with another individual we'll talk about in just a few minutes here, W.C. Rosamond. And anyway, and you see all of these Freemans tie in, and that's very, very fascinating. You can get into the weeds really, really deep with this. All right, and one of my favorite individuals, some of you may have seen the presentation I gave on Franklin Asbury Gamble. He was a businessman in Jasper, a judge in Jasper, fought in the Civil War. He was the captain, helped organize Company F, 28th Alabama, and he was just not in good health, and just only stayed in the Civil War for just a couple of years and sent back to recruit in Jasper. You can read his ages here. Died in 1895 at the age of 65. Probate judge in Jasper. If you go down to probate judge's office today, you can see his likeness, his photograph up on the wall. Owner and editor of the Jasper Mountain Eagle. He was married to Jerusalem. They called her Jane Freeman, and after she passed away, he married Mary Amanda Owen. He had 7 children, and before I get into the children's names here, here's a marker, not the historic marker, the burial marker here for Franklin Asbury Gamble. It has been damaged, unfortunately. This is what he looked like there, Franklin Gamble. All right, his wife, Jane or Jerusha. Now, all of these Gambles are in one little plot. There's like a concrete slab, and then you have maybe, well, I don't know, there's about 10 of them, 9 or 10 of them that are buried there. Now, these are the children here. And this is in alphabetical order. This was Dolly. She died at, what does that say, 10 months, I believe it is anyway. And here's another child here. This is of Jerusha and Franklin. And Ida, she died at age 23. One other child here. John Faust Gamble died at age 1. This is Mary Gamble. Mary Gamble died at age 1. Here, all of these have been damaged. All these headstones have been kicked over. Here's Sally. That's what they referred to her as. Died at age 2. Virginia, another child. She lived to age 23. And then we had William Capers Gamble. Died at the age of 3. All of these are in that same plot. Moving away from the Gamble family, here's Alex S. Gilbert, and I don't know the date there, unknown birth date. But anyway, his parents were Captain L.E. and Elizabeth Fairchild Jackson. I'll show you a photograph of Elizabeth in just a second. I do not have one of L.E. Here is a burial site here of Elizabeth Fairchild Jackson. This and Jackson Gilbert, and she's buried in the cemetery. and 1836 to 1862, died at the age of 25. All right, and a very pretty young lady here. This is what she looked like. I got this photograph off Save a Grave. Quite attractive here. As I said, she died in her 20s, and she looks like a keeper to me. I think so. All right, here's another family here. This individual is a rather remarkable individual. He's Samuel Gunner's from Tennessee. He's not from Alabama, but he did live in Jasper, after the Civil War. But he rose to the rank of colonel, and he was in Company E, 35th Tennessee, which is Cleburne Division. A lot of combat in that division there. Died at the age of 61. You can read about him here. And he started the Walker County Times. That was a rival newspaper with the what was called the Mountain Eagle at that time. Later, these newspapers merged, and eventually it would become known as the Daily Mountain Eagle. Well-known individual. Another individual here, Benjamin Haynes, died at the age of 14. You can read the information if you wish to do so. One more here. Genia Lee Johnson. She didn't even reach her first birthday before she passed away. Here's Amanda Kilgore, died at the age of 17. Her parents were Wiley E. and Nancy Sides Kilgore. Show you a photograph, actually the burial sites of Wiley Kilgore in just a second. And right here is that second right here, Wiley Kilgore. He was a private in Company K, 50th Alabama, and he was killed. The only significant battle that was taking place at this time was the Wilderness. That was up in Virginia, and I was trying to reconstruct this in my mind, and it is possibly, that could possibly be where he was killed in battle there. I just don't know that. Some of the Alabama troops were they were deployed with General Longstreet's Confederate Corps, and that may have been it, but I just don't know that. That's just conjecture on my part. All right. And here's Wiley Kilgore. Yeah. All right. A different family is the Lampkin family. And this is one of the oldest families in Jasper, and you can see the plot here. If you look, you can see the burial sites here, there, and there. You can see the monument that's here. It's easy to recognize here. Hard to read now when you go in the cemetery. You find the marker right away, but you trying to read the inscriptions is a challenge in itself here. This is Griffith. He is the oldest one, along with Levi Sides, that's buried in this cemetery. Fought the War of 1812. He was a colonel and married to Susan Thacker. And they had 4 children. 3 of these children are buried here in the cemetery and marked graves. This is Sarah, that's his wife. Died at the age of 54. And conflicting information. I told you that he had 4 children, but here it says that she had 3 children. So I just can't explain that. We're going back 200 years almost, and so I just don't know. Here's Grover Lampkin, and Grover Lampkin died at the age of 9 months. All right. Here's another one here, who is Robert Lampkin, died at the age of 28 days. That was a brother to Grover. And another monument. This is right as you enter into the cemetery, a large monument, recognizing the Little family, the family with the last name of Little. Be careful with a dog over here. Got a little pit bull there to give you a hard time when you're wandering around in that cemetery. I think Jasper has a leash law. I believe it does. James P. Little, this is his burial site right next to the monument there. Died at the age of 27. And within that small burial plot, there's an unmarked grave here, a lot of unmarked graves. This is from the Little family, just do not know the name. One of my heroes, and lectured on him before in other presentations, is Francis Ashbury Musgrove, age 37. He was a captain and organized the Company L, 28th Alabama, and was wounded on several occasions in battle, and was sent home to recruit, and actually recruited 2 battalions, one of which went to Virginia. That may have been the one that individual I was talking about a few minutes ago was part of. The other one was known as Musgrove's Battalion. It was part of Nathan Bedford Forrest Corps. His wife was Elizabeth Kane Musgrove. She's not buried here. All the Musgroves are buried in Oak Hill Cemetery. And this is the old cemetery here, Jasper Memorial. And the larger cemeteries in Jasper, of course, is Oak Hill and then Walker Memory Gardens. But anyway, she's a remarkable individual, Elizabeth Kane Musgrove. And if you look here, the parents, her parents, are Edwin and Rachel Ann Hicklin. Okay, a real hero. And if you look carefully in the Musgrove, I can't even call it burial plot because most of the Musgroves are up at Oak Hill. But here's an unknown Musgrove, and there may even be one more. I don't know. If you look at it, it kind of looks like there may be another monument there. Here's another individual, James Martin O'Rear. Talk about an old stone. This is an old one. Good luck in reading this. Genealogical Society really had their work set out for them when they broke the code on this, kind of like the Rosetta Stone. But 1815, 1865, he died at the age of 50. Here we have John D. O'Rear, and not the son of James, and I don't think it was anyway, but died at the age of 2. And another individual here is Melinda. They called her Millie. She's one of the early founders of Jasper. Millie Veal O'Rear. O'Rear is a common name in Walker County and to Jasper. She married to John O'Rear. Okay. And here we have William P. O'Rear. Died at less than 1 year of age in 1859. Here's the title, inscription on the marker there just says Infant Red Mill. Anyway, died age 1 in 1877. All right, here's Nancy Lively Richardson, passed away at age 31. She was married to John Richardson, one of the elderly individuals in Jasper. Andrew Edgar Robinson, 1817, 1867, died at age 70. All right, and you can read more about that if you wish to do so. F.A. Robinson. You can just imagine the effort that it took here, to inscribe this. I don't know what you'd use. I guess a nail or maybe a knife. I don't know. Some kind of instrument. All right, this is a remarkable lady here, Medora Frances Freeman Rosamond. Now, I told you a few minutes ago about the Freemans. The Freemans married into the Rosamonds. The Rosamonds, they were physicians. The Freemans were physicians. And it tells you here that she married William Capers Rosamond. Parents, James Hawkins Freeman. The Gambles are Freemans, the Rosamonds, they're all intermarried. And just part of our early history. This is the modern stone. You can see the old stone for Medora Rosamond. It's in the cemetery. Now, you'll see next to her, this is her husband, Dr. W.C. Rosamond. I can remember my dad talking about the Rosamonds when I was just a really, really young kid. Now, he is not buried there. This is a cenotaph. It's just a marker, a grave marker, but he is not buried there. He's buried in Oak Hill Cemetery. And I know you're asking yourself, well, why is he buried in Oak Hill Cemetery and she is buried down here in the Memorial Cemetery? And I do not know that. It's just unknown answer with that. Christopher Scott died at the age of 30, and you can read about him. Here's one which is just simply A.A. Self. There's no records, no burial records whatsoever, just the name there. As you go into the Sheriff section of the old cemetery, here's William Sheriff, a real hero. One of the early founders in Jasper, born 1790, died at age 75. 1865, he's from New York. I should say he was from York County, South Carolina. Married to Martha Mentor Shera. She's in an unmarked grave here in the cemetery. Revolutionary War, he was wounded at the Battle of Brandywine, and that's kind of interesting battlefield if you ever get a chance to explore that if you wish to do so. And he was one of the 1,100 that crossed the Delaware River on Christmas night in 1776 with George Washington. I think that's just a remarkable link here for an individual Jasper to be associated with that. Now, if you go to the cemetery and you find where the Shera plot is, not difficult to do so, you can see all of them are buried right there. And here was William down on this end working backwards here. Now you'll see the old stones here, and if you look over here you'll see the new stones. Right here, the old stone right on the other side is the new stone. I just identified this as a Shera plot. Here it is again, looking at it from a slightly different angle from the other angle. Watch out for the dogs that are right back up here. They're caged, but they'll give you a little bit of a scare if you're not ready for them. I love his name here. Alabama Lahoma Shera. Died at the age of 17. Her parents were Absalom and Janetta. They called her Rainey. Rainey Kirkpatrick Shera. There's a lot of Raineys that are over in this area. You'll see this in just a second. And here we have B.F. Shera. B.F. Shera died at the age of 11. His parents were William and Sarah Love Shera. Okay. Another one, I love this one. This is one of my favorites here. And if you look at the top of the marker here, it tells you Little Cora. Yeah, her proper name was Cora Shera. She died at the age of 3. And I'm sure that just broke her parents' heart. Absalom and Sarah. All right. Here's our next one here, which is George Ann Gilpin Shera. Died at the age of 22. This is a new marker. You can find the old markers close by. Okay. And we have Jane Kirkpatrick Shera. A lot of Kirkpatricks that are buried up there. So many unmarked graves. One of the early pioneers of Jasper. Look at the dates here. 1811 through 1886. Died at the age of 75. Once again, we see somebody from Chester County, South Carolina. She married Thomas Shera. And here we see again here Elizabeth Rainey Kirkpatrick. And sometimes you'll see even Kilpatrick there, but Kirkpatrick's a rather common name. Here's Jane Kirkpatrick Shera. Jane Kirkpatrick. And of course, you know, if you're from Jasper today, there's a lot of Sheras that are here. L.C. Jones Shera. Here, L.C. Jones. He died at the age of 32. And you can see his parents' name. I won't go into that. Here is L.C. Shera, modern stone. Okay. One other one. This is Lou N. Guttery Shera. Guttery's popular name in Walker County. She's married to Dink Shera. Died at the age of 16. Another individual here. Married Lorraine Shera. Died at age 2. Mary Ann Good Shera died at the age of 30. Good luck reading those monuments. Here we go. This is Rainey Kirkpatrick, age 53. She married Absalom Shera. You can't read this very well. It's SFF or SE Shera. Parents were Absalom, Rainey. Thomas Shera. Here, married to Jane Kirkpatrick Shera. Lived to age 79. Died in 1888. And was born in 1808. Here's the modern tombstone of Thomas Shera. William L. Shera. His parents were Absalom, Rainey, common name. Here's Lily Shields. Move away from the Sheras. We get Lily Shields. It says in memory of Lily. Her parents were John John B. and Caroline Longshields died at the age of 14. Levi Sides, who is the oldest, 79, and he was originally from Anson County, North Carolina. He was a private in Jackson's regiment, Alabama militia. And I can't really tell you this. I put it down as part of the Indian Wars, but it could have been a part of the War of 1812. I just don't know about that. All right. And right next to him, in an unmarked grave, is Mary Ashcraft Sides. But it's right next to him, so many consider this to be his wife. Okay, here's the Stanley plot. And this is kind of interesting because you can't miss this. You'll see it looks like old WPA stones that have been carved here, but this was way before the WPA. But anyway, those stones which created a little family plot, Stanley plot. And buried within there are 3 children, and you can see their graves here, there, and there. John Benjamin Stanley and Mary Palantine that lived, she lived beyond her childhood, and Virginia Letitia Stanley. If you look down to the far side here, this is where Rebecca, the mother, is, and you can't see where the father is. The father is up there. More on those photographs here of the Stanley plot. Here is the father, William Lucius Stanley. Here, died age 66. Notice there's a connection also ties into the Freemans and the Rosamonds. Okay, this is the wife of William. This is Rebecca. And she died at the age of 20. She had 3 children that we are aware of. It tells you here 1 child. But if you go to the plot there, you'll see the 3 children. And here they are. This is John Benjamin Stanley, died at the age of 4. This is his sister here, and she died at the age of 24, Mary Palatine Stanley. And then they had another sister, Virginia. Here she is here, Virginia Letitia, died at the age of 2. And then I can't figure this one out. This it tells you this is within the Stanley plot, and it just says Stanley. And I imagine that just identifies the plot, but it could be some Stanley that we just don't know. There's no data which is present on the stone. All right, moving on. Another family here, or another individual. This is Louisa Catherine Files Stevenson. All right, died at the age of 40. And Jesse Sutton, several Suttons here, died at the age of 5. Let's see if I can find these. Age of 5. Now, notice here, you can't see it very well, but see the slopes here? And you do have some of these slope stone graves that are present there in the cemetery. You see what I'm talking about right here. This is John Sutton, died in 1886. And then right next to him, we have William Levi Sutton. And I'll show you a photograph of all of them together. And this is John Sutton, Jesse Sutton, William Sutton. It's all there together. Here's another view of the same burial plots. John Sutton, Jesse, and William. Okay. This stone here is Benjamin Tyrus. He did fight in the American Civil War, died at the age of 19 in December 1861. Undoubtedly, it was from disease. I don't know that for certain anyway, but he was part of Phelan's company in the Alabama Light Artillery. And then this is, I don't know whether it's a brother or a cousin, but Eugene Tyrus, probably a brother, died at age 22 in 1861. This was like 3 days, before his brother died. Also a part of Phelan's company in Alabama Light Artillery. And I do not know the story on this one here. This is Mary Etta Tyrus, died died at the age of 1, and I can only imagine, about the history of her short life. Okay, all right. This is William, C.J. Williams. No records there other than you can see on the stone there. You can barely make it out, and it says C.J. Williams. I don't think the Genealogical Society found that, identified his grave anyway. Here's one simply known as Sally. It's a nice stone. If you look at it, a nice stone. You can see where it has been broken. Died at the age of 49, but we do not know her last name. Here's one which is known as HAB. It's one of the slant stones, HAB. This one just has the inscription here. You can read it down like that, and it just says SSFS. No idea what that means. It's very nice stone here, and this will frustrate you if you try to identify it. And it is an unknown one, but it is a high stone. It's one of those that has not been knocked over, and it is a high stone, probably 3.5 feet high, but all of the markings have fallen off of it, so you can't identify it, which is kind of frustration. Unidentified grave here, no idea what this is. All of these that I'm going to show you now are unidentified. Here's another one here, unidentified. Here's one more here, unknown. You might can do a rubbing on this. I did not try to do that. But, good luck with it. And if you do find out, I wish you'd let me know. You can identify. Nice stone here, just a lot of age to it, and you just can't tell. Now, for many of these stones, when I found them, you'd find like this upper part here was turned over, and it would be 2 feet, 3 feet away from the lower part. And, you have to turn it over and then try to fit it back into place right there. I wish somebody would take care of that cemetery. Here's another one. I always was fascinated with this one because it's got the one finger here, like pointing up to heaven. Here's another unmarked one. And we move on with another unmarked one. Like I said, they're estimating, 59 to 60 unmarked graves. I just about lay money on the table that it is a lot more than that. Another unmarked grave here. It's been pushed over by the roots of a tree or by the tree itself. Another unknown one. This one's been broken off. You can see where it's been broken there. Unmarked one here. It would be fascinating to know who these individuals are. Another unmarked one here. All right. So anyway, that's enough of that. And anyway, I want to show this to you likewise here. And let's see if I can get this to get into proper lighting right there. These are just other individuals that are buried at the Jasper Memorial Cemetery without identification. Let's see if I can get that to do better. All right. I want to talk to you about a few minutes ago. Elizabeth Wells Cammett. Tells you all about her. She died at the age of 80. I didn't include her as being the oldest one because we don't know where her grave is. But anyway, she was married to Judge Moses Cammett. I'm not going to go through all of these in great depth, but Hester Winifred Cranford, James A. Johnson, William Rainey Kilpatrick. Anyway, and those were some. And then we had even a few more here, such as AJR, that's all the markings are. LAR, Francis Robinson, 1863, unknown. Now I got most of this information here on Find a Grave, and I cannot vouch for its authenticity, but I would suspect it's probably fairly accurate anyway, at least for some of these. Mary Elizabeth Whitfield Robinson, MLS, Martha Mentor Sheriff. She was the mother to a number of those sheriffs, and But again, she's in an unmarked grave there. Mary Ann Kilpatrick Shera, Belinda McAdams Stovall, William Poole Stovall, and on and on. All right, so anyway, that was exhausting here, my friends, and I hope you had a kind of enlightened experience with that, going through the Jasper Memorial Cemetery. Honest to goodness, it's a fun place to prowl around there. I could spend all day. It seems like I have spent all day there anyway, just having fun up in that area. And I hope you'll take the time to go up there and study the genealogical records. They're in the public library, and I'm going to put together a little 3-ring binder with all these photographs in it and see if the library wants it. And if they want it, that's fine. I'll donate it to them. And if they don't want it, well, I'll just keep it in my personal possession here. All righty. Thank you for being with me today.